So today, on May 11th, 2023, at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to see Title 42 expire. What does this mean? Well, this means immigration is going to explode. As Title 42 ends, immigration is going to see surges and spikes. That is what we are going to see. Now, I want to share a few things from multiple people. I want to share a story that one of my friends just told me, that he lives near the border down in Mexico. And he said there are thousands and thousands of people just waiting for Title 42 to end. Now, I want to read you a few other things. This right here is from the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, and he says, I want to be very clear. Our borders are not open. People who cross our borders unlawfully and without a legal basis to remain will be promptly processed and removed. That's what he says. Okay? But that does not mean that's actually going to happen. Here's what I can show you right now. It says the Biden administration's warnings come as Border Patrol agents made another 10,000 migrant apprehensions Wednesday, the third day in a row, according to Customs and Border Protection sources. But I also want to show you this. And we need to read some of this, because this is not something that we were not expecting. This is something that we knew was going to happen. And this is an article from Fox News. And it says, the head of U.S. Border Patrol has sent out a memo authorizing the release of illegal migrants into the U.S. without court dates if agents face overcrowding as the Biden administration scrambles to deal with a historic surge in migration at the border ahead of the end of Title 42. He says, the memo says that migrants can be allowed into the country on parole, which is a process typically reserved for urgent humanitarian reasons or significant public benefit, if Customs and Border Protection faces overcrowding. The memo calls the practice parole with conditions. That is something that you need to learn, and this is something that you need to keep in mind, because chances are we're going to be hearing about this for quite some time. It says the memo calls the practice parole with conditions, as migrants are required to make an appointment with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, or request a notice to appear by mail. It also says, under the parole release, migrants are rapidly released into the country, do not get an alien registration number, and do not receive a court date. Interesting. But that is not it. Okay? Now, here's what I want to show you. Look at this right here. It says, once Title 42 is lifted, the tens of thousands of people who have been waiting in Mexico after fleeing from violence, poverty, and political instability will be subject to decades-old immigration protocols known as Title 8. Under those laws, individuals can no longer be turned away or deported without a screening for asylum claims. That means, again, this is very important, that means they'll enter the country and be placed in detention centers as they go through a process called expedited removal, which includes a credible fear interview. Those who are deemed to have valid claims will be allowed to stay in the country as their cases make their way through immigration court. Those who are not allowed will be deported. It also says, regardless of the outcome, the longer processing times will result in a bottleneck at ports of entry and detention centers that will put a strain on federal, state, and local government resources. Now, let's go back to this other one, okay, which is exactly what the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary said, is that, again, this memo right here, okay, it says, and again, I read it to you before, I'll read it to you again, sent out a memo authorizing the release of illegal immigrants into the U.S. without court dates if agents face overcrowding, okay? This is extremely important to understand. And the reason why this is extremely important to understand is because of how many people are coming into the U.S. It says the use of parole is being authorized if a sector capacity goes above 125%. If agents apprehend 7,000 per day over 72 hours, or if average time in custody goes above 60 hours. Okay? Then it goes on to say, agents have been encountering over 10,000 migrants a day since Monday, and there are no signs of that slowing down with the looming end of Title 42, which is expected to bring an even bigger wave with it. The memo noted the enormous numbers of agents are encountering. This is a massive problem. The reason why this is a massive problem, because we do not have the ability to house 10,000 new people every single day. We don't have that kind of capacity. The other issue is we're already sending military personnel down to the border, and we did this, I believe, a week ago. We sent military personnel down to the border to try to help the National Guard and to try to help Border Patrol agents. It's not working because it's not the people that we have, it's the space, it's the capacity. That's the problem. Here's the other issue. We start allowing tens of thousands of people to come into the United States and wait for an appointment, or they have to call and schedule one or send a letter. The Department of Homeland Security is already extremely backlogged. It's not going to be a quick fix. People are going to be in the United States for many months, if not years, before they ever get an appointment. I know this because I've had to do it. Okay? I've had to do this for a family member to get them into the United States legally. And it can take years. It's not a quick process. So the fact of the matter is this. There is something called Title 42. It ends tonight. This is going to be a massive problem. We are going to see more people working illegally. That's something that we always see. There's always people that work illegally, work under the table, and a lot of it's in construction and agriculture and things like that. Those are not the only industries, but those are some of the main ones. The problem we're going to face is that right now we are seeing a little bit of a labor shortage, right? The reason why this is a problem is because there's millions of people that aren't working who legally can work, but they are just not working. Companies aren't hiring. You know what's going to happen? Right now that lawmakers are trying to fight for a $17 per hour minimum wage within the next 5 years, we are never going to reach that. If we allow tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of immigrants come into the U.S. and they cannot work, guess what they're going to do? They're going to work. They're going to find a way to work. They are going to find ways to get paid under the table, okay? Whether it's construction or agriculture or something else. They will figure out a way to put food on the table, put money in their pocket, keep clothes on their back, put a roof over their head. They will figure out a way. The reason why this is a problem is because not that we should not be allowing more people into the U.S., but the fact of the matter is this. The U.S. government has an issue, and that is that we're trying to tax the wealthy, just the wealthy. How are we going to tax the wealthy and we're going to let more people come into the United States, work under the table, not pay taxes, receive benefits? Again, this is part of the issue. If we are the ones paying taxes, we are the ones allowing this to happen. This is the problem. Now, I wish I could tell you that, the end of Title 42, it's going to make things much cleaner, much easier. No, it's going to bring more problems. Now, is this something that, does Title 42 need to get extended? Well, the answer is no. It probably doesn't, simply because Title 42 was put in place because of COVID. We didn't want people coming into the U.S., staying here, traveling about and, getting other people infected from a disease that may come from another country. We don't want that. So Title 42 was put in place. Problem is it ends today. So we will see what happens. We will see what kind of changes we experience because of this. And as we see these changes, as we see what happens, I promise I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. All you got to do is two things. First off, go ahead, hit that like button on this video and click that subscribe button so you never miss an update.